The night was colder than usual, the kind that sinks into your bones and reminds you how alone you truly are. On the edge of a near-empty gas station, under the dim yellow lights humming above the concrete, a teenage boy knelt beside a motorcycle he didn't own, his hands trembling not from fear, but from hunger and exhaustion. He had spent weeks sleeping behind dumpsters, abandoned sheds, and empty bus stops, but tonight wasn't about survival. Tonight was about the choice he made the moment he saw a stranded biker whose machine had suddenly died in the middle of nowhere. It was a moment that would change his life in ways he could never imagine. And within 24 hours, over 100 roaring motorcycles would surround him, not to harm him, but to rewrite his destiny forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping others without expecting anything in return, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The teenager's name was Ryan, a 16-year-old who had been on the streets since his mother passed away and his stepfather had pushed him out with nothing but a torn backpack. He had learned to live quietly, unnoticed, picking up odd jobs, fixing broken bikes when someone gave him a chance, and surviving on whatever little he earned. His mechanical talent was the only thing he carried from the happier days when his real father used to repair old engines in their small garage before disappearing from Ryan's life forever. That evening, Ryan had been sitting on the curb, tying his worn-out shoes, when he heard the rattling sputter of a motorcycle losing power. He looked up and saw a large biker pulling into the station, frustration written across his face as the engine coughed and died. The man looked intimidating. Tattoos covering his arms, a heavy leather vest loaded with patches, and a beard that made him seem even more serious. Most people would avoid someone like him. But Ryan didn't see a threat. He saw a machine that needed help, and a man who didn't know the boy would give it freely. Without thinking twice, Ryan approached and quietly asked if he could take a look. The biker nodded, though he seemed unsure at first. Ryan knelt in front of the motorcycle, pushing his hair from his eyes as his hands moved with the confidence he rarely felt in the rest of his life. Years of fixing broken things, mostly things thrown away by others, had taught him precision. Under the glow of the gas station lights, he worked fast, diagnosing a faulty connection and a clogged fuel line. The biker watched silently, his expression shifting from suspicion to surprise. After nearly 10 minutes, Ryan stood up and wiped the grease on his shirt. He told the biker it should start now. The biker tried the ignition. The engine roared back to life with a thunderous growl, strong and steady. Ryan smiled softly, a rare smile he barely recognized on himself. The biker killed the engine and stepped closer. Instead of the anger or distrust Ryan expected, the man placed a large, heavy hand on his shoulder and asked what he owed him. Ryan shook his head. He didn't help for money. He never had. He simply saw someone who needed something he could offer. The biker stared at him for a long moment, his eyes narrowing not in hostility but in deep thought. He asked Ryan where he lived. Ryan hesitated before admitting the truth, he had no home. Something shifted in the biker's face, like a storm cloud breaking apart. He nodded once, then climbed onto his bike and rode off into the night, leaving Ryan alone again. Ryan didn't expect anything to come from the encounter. He simply curled up behind the gas station that night, pulling his thin hoodie around himself to fight the cold. The distant hum of trucks on the highway was the only comfort he had as he drifted into a restless sleep. By morning, Ryan woke to a sound he had never heard in such huge numbers, the synchronized thunder of engines. Dozens, then hundreds. The ground vibrated beneath him. Confused and terrified, he stood and stepped toward the open lot of the gas station. What he saw froze him in place. A sea of motorcycles, chrome glinting under the rising sun, engines rumbling like a moving wall, surrounded the station. Every rider wore leather vests, patches, and symbols. They lined up in perfect formation, blocking the road, filling the lot, stretching beyond what Ryan could see. It was like an army had arrived. And at the center stood the biker he had helped the night before. Ryan's heart pounded as the man walked toward him with several other bikers at his side. But there was no threat in their steps. No anger. Only purpose. The biker introduced himself as the president of a major motorcycle brotherhood, one of the biggest and most feared nationwide. But today, they weren't feared. Today, they were here because of him. He told Ryan that what he had done wasn't small. A homeless teenager, with nothing to his name, still chose to help a stranger without expecting anything in return. That kind of heart, he said, was the rarest thing left in the world. And good deeds, especially pure ones, deserved more than just words. He motioned to the motorcycles surrounding them. They had all come for him. Not to intimidate, but to honor him. The president stepped aside, and suddenly the bikers parted, revealing brand new bags of clothes, food supplies, and tools laid out on the pavement. They were gifts, purchased, collected, and brought together by the group overnight. They had spent hours preparing everything after hearing what Ryan had done. But that wasn't all. The president handed Ryan a folded leather vest, not a patched one, just simple and clean. It represented something more than clothing. It represented belonging, respect, and a place where he would never be alone again. Ryan felt his throat tighten. For years, he had convinced himself that people didn't care. That life would always push him aside. That the world forgot kids like him. But now, standing surrounded by over 100 powerful machines and even more powerful hearts, he realized something he had long lost the ability to believe. He mattered. He was seen. He was valued. And he wasn't alone anymore. The biker told Ryan that if he wanted, they would help him get back on his feet, find shelter, food, education, even work in their garages. They didn't want to change who he was. They only wanted to make sure the world never broke him again. Ryan stood there trembling, tears filling his eyes as he clutched the vest close to his chest. For the first time in years, he felt like a door had opened. A real future stood waiting, one built on kindness, loyalty, and the unexpected power of helping someone with nothing but your heart. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stories of hope deserve to be heard. Before the ending, please comment below, kindness always returns. By the time the engines roared again and the bikers rode off into the rising sun, with Ryan riding among them on the back of the president's motorcycle, one truth echoed through the cool morning air. Sometimes the smallest act of goodness can bring the biggest miracles, and sometimes the people we help become the family we never knew we needed.